So for this week, we're going to be looking at argument essays and the structure of what a formal argument is, as opposed to the picture I have here. An argument is not something like, oh, I hate you, you make my life miserable. No, actually, argument is a highly structured, well conceived, thought out, and supported rhetorical mode of thinking. It's logical. It needs to have facts and support. It cannot be just an opinion. So if you look here, there is some form of persuasion. You maybe be trying to persuade your audience of whatever, or when you're reading something, that author is trying to persuade you. Though sometimes it is just an idea that's being presented, and whether or not it's persuasive uh, is not important to the overall output. But most arguments are trying to be persuasive. So here you can see it comes from the Latin root to prove. So you're actually trying to prove your point, not just your opinion. If you look here, robbers should be publicly flogged. This will be a deterrent. So that is just an opinion. At that point, just having that out there is an opinion. So I think that if we take people who rob houses and we put them on the public square and we lash them, that it's going to deter them from robbing houses, and it's going to deter any other robbers, would-be robbers, from robbing people. That is just simply an opinion, and you cannot form an argument just based on your opinion. Then that's a totally different essay structure. No, an argument needs to have further proof in order to back up what the author is saying. You need to have evidence. It could be statistics, it could be research studies, it could be expert opinions. There's a lot of different ways to back up your argument, and some are weighed more heavily than others, but it cannot just simply be, this is what I think. But that's not good enough in an argument. And when you look here, a good argument has logical step-by-step line of reasoning. So from the beginning to the end, an argument should walk the reader through, this is what my thesis is, this is what my argument is, this is why, and here's my support, and you strongly conclude it. So whether you are writing it yourself or you're reading it, and in particular pay attention to how authors are putting their arguments out there, and so you can see how you can use that as a model in your own writing. It should be highly organized, very logical. If it's a badly written argument, you can see through the manipulation quite easily. Well, if you think about it. But, when I see some people, they get very easily manipulated. And it's a shame, because we should educate ourselves and allow ourselves to think more deeply about how people are trying to manipulate us into doing other things. This could be as simple as an advertisement, or particularly, of course, in politics, there's a lot of, the politicians who are very skilled in argument, mostly because they're lawyers, always are trying to manipulate, right, the citizens. So, in particular, let's pay attention to how logic and the misuse of logic is used in informal arguments. So let's go on. The argument essay structure. So overall, we have what the issue is. What are we arguing about? So there's many contemporary issues that could be argued. We have issues about what should we do about the economy. We have issues about what do we do about individual rights. Everything can come down to an overall argument. Even something as simple as, let's see, should shopping be outlawed on Sundays, right? So I want to go to the store, I want to buy clothing, but I can't do it on Sundays because the laws are that it's illegal, right? Well, where that's the issue. Now I need to have a claim about it. What is my claim going to be? The claim can be further broken down into three areas: a claim of fact, a claim of value, or a claim of policy, though they do somewhat intertwine with each other. So, sticking with the issue is shopping on Sundays, I want to make a claim. My claim is going to be that shopping needs to be legal on Sundays. Why? Is it going to be a claim of fact or value or of policy? And I think my claim would be all of them somehow mixed around. It's a claim of fact because I'm going to say that we need to have shopping on Sundays because it's causing the tax rate to go down because stores can't be open on Sundays and they're losing out on revenue. I'm also going to say it's a claim of value because my idea is more right than wrong. My idea is that with the current modern workforce, everybody's working long hours, everybody's busy with their families. It serves the people well to be able to buy their clothes on Sunday because you need that extra day to fit into your schedule, very busy schedule. So my idea is also a claim of value. It is more right. It also can be a claim of policy because it's not only here is my argument, but it's not just right or wrong, but it also needs to become official. You need to change the law over this. So it's not just right or wrong. Right or wrong, here's why, and what you need to do to change it. Well, what you need to do is repeal any law that says you can't shop on Sundays. So I gave a little bit of this, the reasons and support. You can gather this from a variety of materials. I can show what the facts are. The facts are that stores are losing revenue because they're closed one day a week, and that in turn is also lowering the tax ratables of the town. So in effect, people are paying more property taxes because the stores aren't open and making as much money. Personal experience, well, I'm very busy. I'm working, 15-hour days. I need to go shopping on Sundays, as do many people. How many people? I need to go find that out. I need to get some statistics to show that. You can get personal examples. I can also, I'm sure, find people who would support it with expert opinions. So all of that, I would have to figure it out, structure it, and then present as my argument. Why do we need to allow shopping on Sundays? There's the opposite argument. I won't go totally into it, but the other argument is we cannot go shopping on Sundays because why? There's quality of life issues, there's too much traffic, people from all over the place pour into, shopping areas, and then basically coming up with all of that information, a totally different argument on the same issue will be given. And then there you go. Then it's the weighing of the two issues, right? Pro, con, that kind of thing. So let's move on. If this will click. Okay, so this is just some further exploration into different kinds of claims, right? Claim of fact, claim of value, claim of policy. So you can read that and you can see how they're kind of looked at, if you want to break it down that way. Let's look further now into some logical fallacies. This is important because
You want to notice the things that you are reading. Are they using logical fallacies? Do you hear things on the radio that are using logical fallacies?
and do not use logical fallacies within your own writing, because what it does is ultimately weakens your position. If you have to fall back on manipulation, if you have to show more, kind of sneakiness with your writing, the the less support your argument actually has. So,
One of them is the ad hominem attack. You probably have heard this many times.
when you have an argument, the argument is about what the issue is. It is not about the person who is saying the argument. But a lot of arguments can devolve into attacks on the person. So ad hominem literally means against man, and that is, we're not even looking at what the issue is, we're just going to be insulting you.
Now, how can you say something like that? You're so stupid, you blah, blah, blah.
Okay. Non sequitur is it does not follow. It just like, you hear a non sequitur and you go, no, there's something not right there. If you look at this example here, if the mill, whatever mill it is polluting the river, we will see an increase in fish deaths.
Well, fish deaths have increased, therefore, the mill must be polluting the river.
It is a non sequitur because the conclusion does not follow. There could be many other reasons for fish deaths besides the mill.
It could be the mill, but it is not followed through
According to these reasons. So this is just like a simplistic way of breaking down what a non sequitur is. But when you're looking at things and you go, this information is being presented, then this information, but the conclusion is like whew, gone out of space, right? Take a look at not only just what information is being presented to you, but then what is the author concluding? Does that make any sense? And if not, maybe it's a logical fallacy. There's circular reasoning. Oh, this one I've seen a lot. It just goes around and around. Um, it's like I say that I'm not a liar, and so since I say I'm not a liar, I must be telling you the truth. I didn't give you any support whatsoever. I just told you I'm not a liar. How do you know I'm not a liar? Because I told you I'm not a liar. Okay? Again, breaking it down in a simplistic fashion, but you can see circular reasoning. Um, Actually, I just remembered something. This is years ago. I'm not insulting good old Michael Jackson, but when he had trouble with the kitty thing, I remember listening on the radio. His lawyer said Michael Jackson would never molest children because he loves children. I remember hearing that and I went, woo, that is begging the question. That is circular reasoning. That doesn't prove anything at all. Michael Jackson loves children, so therefore he would not molest children. Well, I don't know if MJ was guilty or not, but I'm just putting out that his lawyer had a really um, bad logical fallacy. Let's move on. All right, so sweeping generalization, that is when I'm applying something small and I'm applying it to everything. So birds can fly, Tweety, the penguin is a bird, therefore Tweety can fly. Well, we know that's not true. We know that penguins cannot fly, right? So again, a simplistic way of looking at it, but it's like I'm taking this small sample and I'm applying it to everything, which may not necessarily be true. So it's a fallacy. False analogy is when I am trying to make a point, but my analogy is way too weak. If you can see this example here, employees are just like nails. Well, that's weak. Just as nails must be hit in the head in order to make them work, so must employees. Weak analogy. Obviously, it doesn't work, right? Or should we be hitting people on the head? Post hoc is one that I see quite a bit, where you think one thing is a causation,
right? This caused A caused B, when there might be a correlation, there might be some relationship between them, but there really is no logical basis to say that there's a causation. So this one example, I took easy no cold. 2 days later, my cold disappeared. Therefore, it must mean easy no cold works. Well, of course we know that maybe you just got better, right? There's no support there whatsoever that the medicine you took caused your cold to go away 2 days later, because it might have gone away anyway, right? So that's a post hoc fallacy. Appeal to authority is another big one. Yeah, sometimes, there is an authority figure, and, maybe it's somebody who's a researcher who has been, deeply involved in the research, and that would make them an authority figure. But, not always. Again, it has to be weighed properly. You cannot appeal to an authority, somebody who is not an authority in that area. Yeah, I guess you can see this in commercials a lot, right? You see, celebrities who are always shilling for whatever. I use, what are some celebrity endorsements? I use whatever, and look how fantastic my life is. Well, that does not necessarily make it so, right? It's just somebody who's representing themselves. They're not actually an authority in that area. um, so it's just can be used, but you have to make sure that you weigh how relevant it is. A hasty generalization is very close to what a sweeping generalization is, but you're making a conclusion on too small of a sample. So it's not that you're, too small of a sample and you're applying it to everything. You know that your conclusion is based on too small of an example. So Fred stole my wallet. Fred is Australian. Therefore, all Australians are thieves. Obviously, we can't be making that kind of grand leap. Appeal to popularity is something that is similar to appeal to authority, except now this means that everybody does this. So then, therefore, it must be true. And that is not necessarily so. Here, look, at one time everybody thought that the earth was flat. Did that make that true? No, it did not. So, not necessarily an accurate assessment to say things like, well, this obviously is true because so many people are going along with it. We know many people go along with bad ideas. Let's look at one more irrelevant conclusion. And that again is where we're following, this idea, and then I have this idea, but all of it that you put together doesn't make any sense. So let's take a look at number 2. I say we should support affirmative action. White males have run the country for 500 years. It's true. They run most of government and industry today. Yep, that's still true. You can't deny that this sort of discrimination is intolerable. Well, where did that conclusion come from? So you can say that, yes, the author has proven that there is some discrimination. There is definitely more power, in the hands of, but that does not show that affirmative action will end any of that discrimination. Okay, so it's like I can give you this information which is true, I can give you this information which is true, but then my conclusion is not supported by what has come before them. This is just a brief look at logical fallacies. There are many, many, many of them. And if you ever go to law school, you would be studying logic very intently, because you can use the power of logic for good, or you can use it to manipulate and be evil. But I just wanted to show you a little bit of it so you can be aware of it from when you're reading it, if things don't make sense. So broaden your awareness. And also when you are writing yourself, you do not want to fall into these traps, because ultimately someone will see through it and it will weaken your argument. Okay.